This one here is a type of sculpture, and it's got a lot of designs on it and such like that. So let's talk about, or let's go through our list of criteria and just get right to it. So the first thing is the subject difficulty. This is sort of a relatively simple shape, and it doesn't have too many undercuts and stuff like that. Some, the eye sockets are not all that deep. Even where the nasal opening or aperture is, it's not too bad. Inside of here, where the jaw is, maybe some of these areas are going to be a little difficult to get. But for the most part, if you move the camera in the proper position, you're going to get pretty good coverage of most of this. So it's a nice model to do, but it's not overly difficult. So it's about, I'll say, medium to medium light in terms of the subject difficulty. Now, in terms of the photographs, let's zoom out here so you can see the quantity of photographs. You'll see that there's quite a few photographs here around, and then there's some different ones. So there's a couple of rings that were almost at the same. So there's definitely enough photographs. Let's put it that way. It's not lacking in photographs. There's a couple of different rings here, and this tells me that it was done either on a turntable or a simulated turntable, something that can rotate around, or they just rotated the object around on the side of the head, on the other side of the head, top, bottom, and to get all the different angles and such that they needed. So quantity is good. There's no doubt it's not lacking any, but let's talk about the coverage. Well, we've got a lot of photos up on the top. So we got a ring on the top, we've got 2 rings here, and then we've got like half a ring over here on the back. And I'm not sure why that wasn't continued around the front, because there was a lot of stuff here, like where the eye sockets, and there's certainly a lot of detail on the front that could have benefited from some additional photos. But I probably would have taken the second ring. You can see there's 2 rings that are done here. Here and here, and I'm not sure why there wasn't a completed ring over here, and maybe one even slightly underneath. And it could be just it was hard to get the model to sort of sit properly upside down, but there's always a way around that. There's always something that you could do there. But in terms of quality, in terms of coverage, I think there's enough there. But in terms of organization, it could have been a little bit better organized just on these parts here, just to help complete some of these rings and move one of these rings here further down so you get it from a different angle. Now, when we talk about the photos themselves and the lighting and such, this looks really good. I mean, this is very, very well lit, so the person took some care here. And I mean, I like what I'm seeing here. That there are not a lot of harsh shadows that on this particular model. So this is going to reconstruct really well. It's going to give you a nice texture. And so let's have a look at the mesh that we get from this individual here, and let's turn this on and go like that. All right, so here you can see, and if you move into these photos, there may be some roughness in between here, but you see down here there's actually some roughness on the jaw. So sometimes there are things on the model, like you can see here. So there is some roughness here. It's not an artifact or something else. Up here a little bit smoother, but there's some pretty good detail in this particular model, and so overall it's quite nice, right? Some really good features up here. There might have been a few little things that could have been improved, but overall I'm liking this. I think it's pretty cool. And of course, let's get the colors back on and let's talk about the textures. So it's just a nice even texture when you start going through the model. So this was really well done. I like what I'm seeing here. This is something that could easily be brought into another program without a lot of heavy work to fix textures and such like that. So I'm quite happy with this. I like the mesh, I like the texture, and I think overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I would give this one about a 7.5. It was pretty well done, and it is quite a good model. I always talk about my 3D print test, or I take that in consideration. If I were to take just the mesh from this model and print it, would I have a decent print in my hands, and I would say, yeah, I probably would have a pretty decent 3D model of this thing as a 3D print, which means the mesh was reconstructed pretty well. So 7.5 on this guy.